Yanis, you've written that sometimes economics tends to resemble computerized astrology. So what do the stars portend for democratic reform within the EU?
Well, if you want my prediction, I'm going to disappoint you because it's not looking good. But then again, our heart should not be allowed to be put down by our empirical evidence. This is the beauty of the difference between nature and society. In nature, our predictions about the weather, for instance, tomorrow, do not affect the weather. But in society, our predictions about social outcomes are an input into the social outcomes. So if we're optimistic, we choose to be optimistic, that democracy can come, then it might come. But it has to be an act of faith. So don't ask me for evidence, for scientific evidence that democracy is happening. It's not happening. But if we believe that it can happen, then it can happen.
Okay. And Immanuel Kant said that individuals should not be treated as ends, that they should be treated as ends and not as means. And one could argue that the same principle should be applied for states. But I wondered, did you ever feel at any point in time there was a sense that Greece was being used as a means to an end, or that it was a pawn on the global chessboard?
Every day I was in the government. Every day I was in the government. It was abundantly clear to me that the Troika of creditors was simply not interested in having a decent, rational conversation with us about how to bring about the governing so that we can pay them our debts back. So we were in a unique situation, I think, in the history of capitalism, maybe of humanity. We were facing creditors who didn't want their money back. Because if they did, they would allow us to implement policies that would lead to recovery. Instead, they wanted to completely crash us. Why? Because they wanted not just interested in getting their money back, they were interested in winning the elections in Spain, in Portugal, in Ireland, and finally in France, of not having governments there that dare do what we did, which is to say to them, you know what, your policies are failing us. So, yes, we had the crashing of the Greek democracy for instrumental purposes. And when that happens, democracy is finished throughout Europe. Because as Hegel used to say, no one can be free as long as some people are free. Because you extended it, this Hegelian principle, no state can be free if it subjugates another state for instrumental purposes.
And building on that, you mentioned that you were told by a left-wing Marxist scholar that you should always be optimistic. But I was wondering, with regard to...
Not just by Marxist scholars, but by my mother, my grandmother. There's a long tradition in my past pushing me towards activist optimism.
Yeah. So I was wondering, with regards to Athens' debt burden being expected to exceed 187% of its GDP this year, what can you be optimistic about with regard to the Greek economy right now?
But nothing.
Nothing at all?
No. The current program is designed to fail. It is an impossibility. It's not difficult, it's impossible that the Greek economy can recover under this regime. The regime of the unsustainable debt, which leads to silly targets for primary surpluses, which, and they're silly because there's no way this depressed economy can produce them. And these silly targets deter investors because no sensible investor is going to invest in a country that firstly is bankrupt and secondly sets surplus targets so high that it is essential, to try to meet them, to tax them afterwards to such an extent that it makes no sense for them to invest. So this is a failed program. It was designed as a failed program to humiliate our government. Now, where does the hope come from? From overtaking it, from using the mechanisms of politics and democratic politics in order to create solidarity and rationality throughout Europe so that we stop doing this to each other.
And speaking of finding a solution, so far the EU seems to be stubbornly resistant to progressive structural reform. But with your movement, adieu, which is a very ambitious movement, you're hoping to change that. So what is proving to be the most difficult obstacle in changing the status quo?
Lack of hope.
Lack of hope.
That's the worst obstacle in democratic politics. When people they go home after a long day, they sit on the couch and they watch some stupid reality show because they want a bit of escapism. And what do they want to escape? They want to escape the meaninglessness of their lives and the fact that they have no hope. And then, especially if they fear that tomorrow will be worse than today, and their kids will be worse off than they are, then that breeds the kind of frustration that feeds into bigotry, into nationalism, into xenophobia, and not the kind of rage that leads to reason. So that is the worst obstacle. So we need to inspire those people, give them hope, to tell them that, you know what, humanity many times in the past faced such impulse, and we overcame together. So come and join us, because this is the goal.
Okay, and one last question. In 1992, USA's demands on Moscow to service the Soviet-era debts, that sowed the seed of the bitter tensions between the two countries. So would you say that there is a parallel between Germany's demands on Greece, and do you think that a similar outcome is inevitable?
Absolutely. And let me give you 3 parallels. One is what happened to Germany after the First World War, the Versailles Treaty, that John Maynard Keynes so vividly exposed as lunacy in his The Economic Consequences of the Peace. They were expecting Germany, the Allies, to meet that obligation that it was impossible to do. And Germany was crushed and Hitler was born. 1992, as you very correctly put it, the same thing happened to the Russian people. The result is Putin was born. In Greece, they did this in 2010. Golden Dawn was born. Is the time that we learn the lesson of history that an unsustainable debt humiliates people and pushes it into a depression, and nothing good comes out of it?
Okay. Thank you very much, Yanis. Thank you.
Thank you.